If you're wondering what I thought of at the end of the previous video, I will explain now. I didn't do a very good job in that video. So I was thinking about how I could maybe make it work where I could get a load on Saturday. And one thing that came to mind is that I could have shut down in New Jersey on Thursday when after I got the load. And then if I shut down there and stayed there all day on Friday, then I could have left early in the morning to get down. That would have been reset by then. That would have been 34-hour reset. Then I would have been able to make it down to do my drop in North Carolina and Concord and then drive out to Casey. The problem is I could probably in about 9 hours get down to Concord, but I would not be able to get to Casey before the 11-hour mark. So after thinking about it, that wasn't going to work. I had to get down there. So the other thought that occurred to me at the end of the last video was, when was the delivery date? Because we put in ETAs for when we're going to get there, and then pods will run them out to the houses. Now, one thing that occurred to me is if I was already shut down on Thanksgiving from 8 a.m., could I stay shut down a whole extra day from Thanksgiving through Friday and then do the delivery on Saturday instead? The problem was I had already put in my ETA and Pods was expecting it to be there. Plus, there was no delivery date on the two pods. And so in good conscience, I can't just say, well, I can't make it, because I would have had 3 days to get from New Jersey. And everyone who knows me knows that I'm a hustler, and I'm going to load up in New Jersey. I'll be down in North Carolina in 9 hours, which is what I did. So, I mean, technically, I could have easily done it, but then getting to the other place, I wouldn't be able to do that same day. So I wasn't going to even play games with that because, again, Schneider's all about customer service. I'm actually a big advocate for customer service too. And it's not fair to the customer if they're waiting around just so that way I can get a job. It's not fair to them. I mean, because they spend thousands of dollars getting their pod loaded up and then it gets sent across the country. And I just cannot say just for the opportunity to maybe get a job a day or two early, you know. It just doesn't, it's not a good decision. It's not a good decision for me. It's not a good decision for the customer, for Pods. I can't do that. That's just not, I don't want to say karma because it's not really karma, but it's just not a good thing to do. So I thought about it, and it didn't take me but about 30 seconds after I shut off the video to decide that I wasn't going to do that. Some people might and say, well, I just can't seem to make it. I'm having truck problems or something. Make an excuse. I'm not going to make an excuse. I'm just going to do the delivery. I'm going to do my job. Okay, so Thanksgiving was Thanksgiving. I actually arrived at 8 a.m. and had a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving meal, which is jelly beans, it's pretzel sticks, it's toast. It's supposed to be buttered, but I didn't have butter on me. And it is what's the last thing? Something else that's carbs. Popcorn. So and of course after I bought all this stuff on Wednesday, I got a message saying if you're a driver and you can get by an OC, Schneider is going to be supplying us with food, so we can get a meal if we're not able to get home to see our families. And so I thought that was kind of cool. I went inside and grabbed one. It was smothered in gravy, and I'm not a big fan of gravy, so I kind of scraped it off and ate what I could. But it was very thoughtful of Schneider to do that. I don't know if a lot of companies do that kind of thing, but it was extremely thoughtful and highly appreciated, even if I only ate a little bit of it. So I got up really early on Friday, and I had about 5 hours and like 6 minutes left. I got up really early. I left probably, even though I was on the north side of Charlotte and was not going to run into any traffic, plus it's the day after Thanksgiving, you're not going to really run into traffic. I wanted to get to Concord to be the first person in line. So I got there at like 5:15 a.m. 45 minutes before they open. And then I shut down. I got in position. I broke all my straps, and then I went off the clock. When they came, when the person came, he futzed around, shuffled things all over the place. Then when he was ready to finally offload the one pod from my truck, he did. Now I had called on Wednesday to ask what time do they start offloading semis, and I was told 6 a.m. No one showed up until 6:20. Then by the time they opened up, and it wasn't opening up a gate the normal way. It was pods blocking the door. So there was like pods on top of that. So it's basically, no one's going to push through that unless you push a truck or something through there, which I'm sure that would not be great. But, you could, I guess, if you really wanted to. It'd be stupid, but you could. Anyway, he offloaded me, and I think it was around 7 a.m. I was checking traffic. Again, all he had to do was come over there and just basically pull off the one pod, and then I could leave. But I wasn't going to bother him because they have their own things that they have to do. And even if I would have stopped him and said, "Hey, dude, can you do this?" I was going to let him do his thing. I was off the clock anyway until he came over and took my paperwork. Then I jumped on the clock while he offloaded the pod. And then that's like, it cost like an extra 2 minutes. So I made that up at the end. But anyway, I was looking at traffic and it was still completely clear day after Thanksgiving. So at 7 a.m., I went ahead and drove straight down through Charlotte, then jumped on 77 and went down to Casey. I dropped off in Casey and then went to a pilot nearby. Now, that was in South Carolina, and I'm based out of Atlanta. So one thing I looked at is one of the things I've been doing, even though I've been on the road, and my schedule is technically it's 3 weeks on, 4 days at home, not including the day you arrive. So if I arrive, let's say on a Monday, and I finish working and drop off my last load or something like that on Monday, I'm home Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I leave on Saturday. Well, as I mentioned, especially entry-level trucking doesn't pay what I'm used to. So what I decided to do instead was, after doing this about a month or so, is I started shortchanging my time at home. Now, granted, I have a family at home, and it's not fun to miss out, but I've been only spending 2 days at home and then getting back on the road. So if I drop off at Monday, let's say, then I would get home Monday, and I would stay home Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I leave Thursday. So that's what I've been doing. And sometimes I stay out. Like I think November, I went back on the 1st or 2nd of November, and I came home at the very end of the month, like on the 28th or something like that. But when I was shutting down on Friday, I knew that I was going to shut down, have to get a 34-hour reset done because I was down within my last hour by the time I got there, and it's a pretty crowded truck stop that I stopped at there, right in Columbia. They just got through taking a whole bunch of parking spaces down to do something else, and everybody in the world was parking in that lot. It was annoying. But anyway, the way I looked at it was I was going to be shut down there anyway, so I just decided to see, and it wasn't actually my idea. My partner, she said, "Well, if you're just in South Carolina, I'll come get you." And I was like, "You don't need to do that." She's like, "No, it's fine." Well, ended up being that another family member wasn't doing anything, and he's like, "Well, I'll come get you." So he came and got me and brought me back to Atlanta. So I was able to spend time with my family from Friday until Sunday night because, so I got a couple extra bonus days. And actually it wasn't Sunday night, it was Sunday morning. So basically I went back there in the late afternoon on Friday and went back in the morning on Sunday. So some people may say you only spent, an evening and then a full day and then the morning at home. Yeah, but you know what? I'll take it. I don't spend a whole lot of time at home since I've been on the road. So that was nice. All I had to do then is drive to Atlanta. But I wasn't going to get a job until Monday. So I got back to the truck. I, played catch up on some things I had to do. And then I was waiting for an assignment on Monday morning. I got up early, went ahead and did my pre-trip, because once you do your pre-trip, you're, ready to go. And the way it normally works in the pods account is you don't get something until the 10 o'clock or early 11 o'clock hour most of the time, unless you're already pre-assigned. So I was like, I don't want to, I'm going to probably get an assignment and it's going to be rush. Sure as the world it was. It was, finally a job came through at 10 a.m. Now, keeping in mind, you only have from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at this point, so 5 hours to get your work done because pods locations close at 3. So I got a job to pick up near Spartanburg, South Carolina, or Greenville actually, and then go to Atlanta, a total of 261 miles. Some of it is on smaller roads, like speed limit 45-mile-an-hour roads. Some of it was on speed limit 35-mile-an-hour roads. The new GPS was definitely having fun with me. So anyway, I went ahead and checked the trailer, checked everything, and I was gone about 5 minutes later and racing to try to get there as quick as I could. I loaded up, got as much as quick as I could, but that location was kind of on the slow side. And then got down the back roads and got onto 85 South and went towards Atlanta. Ran into a little bit of traffic with the other delays and the load. I looked at things and I said to myself, if I were to go 65 miles an hour, because things were slowing down, I was looking at it and my ETA was getting later and later as I was looking at the tablet. And that's estimated time of arrival on the tablet that adjusts for traffic. And I'm looking at the number of miles I have left, knowing that side of Atlanta, knowing that I'm going to have to jump on some speed limit 45 roads for a few miles and it's going to be slow. So I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, come on, go. I want to be able to drop this and then go home. Wasn't going to be in the stars for me. I was just delayed too much. And by the time I got there, I was looking at probably not arriving at the pods until the very earliest at 3:15, and that was if I ran into no traffic. That was if I stayed on, the 65 mile an hour, even on the speed limit 45 mile an hour roads, and I just, was able to get there by 3:15 by driving 65 mile an hour, even on the roads that you can't. So it was literally impossible, and I knew they'd be closed. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to even go there. I'm going to go ahead and go and shut down at the Schneider Atlanta OC Operations Center, and then I'm going to go home. So I did. I went home on Monday, and then the next morning, technically home time, I got up at 3:30 a.m., got ready, got down there to the pods location by about 5:45 or something like that. They open at 6. There was already 2 people in the line ahead of me. The guy that was in front of me still had all of his pods, all 3 of them, strapped. So 16-footers. He was all strapped up still, just not, for whatever reason, breaking the straps on him. And the guy in front of him, he was ready. So as soon as I pulled up there, the guy, I pulled up and was waiting. I actually did something I shouldn't have, because there's 2 places for a truck to pull up. And then if a third truck pulls up behind there, you're blocking about half of the pass by area. I went ahead and did that, even though I shouldn't have. When I pulled up there, I noticed the guy had not broken his straps. And I said to myself, I only have a little bit to do. If I break all of my straps here, he can pull those real fast. So I went ahead and said, I'll break the straps, and then pulled up into the thing. The first guy was very quick. I think he pulled like 1 pod and then loaded up another one on there, and he was gone. And then the other guy, the forklift dude, went over there to him, and he was just, and they had a conversation, and then the guy starts breaking his straps. And he noticed me right before he went over to him and was like, you can't park here. You got to go around because you're blocking everything, even though there was like probably 15 feet behind me. And I said, well, if he's not ready, you want to go ahead and offload me now. And he's like, give me your paperwork. So I gave him the paperwork. He had me pulled, and I was out of there. So like I said, I shouldn't have done it, but I did. And I knew from past experience that there was plenty of room, and all the Avert trucks always drive right by. They always drive right by there anyway. There's plenty of room because I made sure to pull up enough to make sure there was probably about 15 feet, not a full 25 to 30. It was 15. And I knew I wasn't going to be there very long. Anyway, he had me offloaded before that guy was even done pulling all the straps. So anyway, I went back to the house. I dropped off the truck at the OC and then went back to the house, and I had a couple of good days off. And then I was pre-assigned. Now, when I finished dropping off that pod, I went and hung out, went inside and talked to some of the trainers that trained me, Ahmad and Carl, two guys I have a lot of respect for. And I went and talked to them, and I talked to Delvis also, told him a couple of things about the newer trailers that he might want to incorporate into his training, to at least make people aware of. And he was very happy to have talked to me. That was cool. But talking to Ahmad and Carl, it was kind of cool. It's the first time I actually had some experience under my belt, and I could talk to them about trucking. We talked about driving up through the north and through the Midwest and the South and everywhere else, and going up in New England and or up towards New York City and stuff. It was really cool having that experience and not just, whatever. But I've been on the road now for almost 4 months. So it's about time I have some experience to talk about, right? And they're great guys. Anyway, talked to them a bit and then went home. And one of the funny things is Carl was asking me, hey, with a smile on his face, he says, "You've been driving any snow yet?" And I said, "No, not yet. I'm sure I'll get some very soon." The pre-assignment came in. Aurora, Colorado, and then Lehi, Utah. So basically going straight down Interstate 70 out of Aurora, Colorado, Denver, basically. And then it's about a 500-mile drive through the Rockies. Now, granted, it's not like it was up when I was going through Idaho. There's a couple areas that are kind of steep, don't get me wrong, but it's supposed to be a little faster, and it's more in valleys, supposedly. But the day I was leaving out, there was a bad snowstorm in that whole area. But then it's an El Nino year, and looking at the weather report, it looks like starting about Monday through about Thursday, the temperature is supposed to get into the 50s/60s. So after that snowstorm passed, the temperature is going to be hovering around the 30s, and then it's going to rise up. So by the time I get there, there's a pretty decent chance I'll be in the high 30s at night, and then it'll be in the mid to high 50s by day when I'm there. Crossing fingers on this one, because I don't want to have to deal with snow chains or shutting down, waiting for something to clear out so I don't have to mess with snow chains, that kind of thing. And that brings me to where I am right now. The first day I drove up from Atlanta, and I stopped in the early afternoon around 2-ish. That was December 1st, actually. And I was able to get up to Cuttawa, Kentucky. The next day I drove basically up to St. Louis and then straight out I-70 to where I am right now, which is Salina, Kansas. Now, about maybe 45 minutes after I left this morning, left Cuttawa, it started getting kind of foggy. The fog lifted a little bit, but it stayed a little on the foggy side. And then as I started to get close to St. Louis, it started getting really foggy. Well, just on the other side of St. Louis, it started getting really foggy. So about the time I jumped on 70. Actually, it was right about the time that 70 became a toll road, and they call it the Kansas Turnpike. No, it was before that. It was right on the other side of St. Louis. But what did happen that was kind of cool is after I went through Kansas City, Illinois, well, East Kansas City, Illinois, and then Kansas City, Kansas, about 10 minutes or so passed out of Kansas City, the white sky and the little bit of fog that it hasn't been too bad lifted. and suddenly the sun came out. And I grabbed for my sunglasses, and about 3 minutes later, I see up ahead. It just starts. Well, I say it starts to stop. It actually, it was like a wall driving into a wall of not really thick fog. I mean, you could still see through it, but it was like it was just sitting there. And then as you drive through this, it went along with the temperature change. And suddenly everything around you, the tips of all the the grass, the trees, everything started freezing. I basically, when I called back home, I said it was like there were some Dementors that suddenly came down upon us there in Kansas. So if you're familiar with the Harry Potter reference, they suck the soul out of you, or basically it makes you feel like you're never going to see happiness again, because you get cold and just have, like, I guess, depression or something. Driving, it went from perfectly fine, everything was green, or, dead grass or whatever, not dead, but it was grass. And then suddenly everything started freezing and things started turning white. Not like solid white, like it had been rained on or snowed on or anything like that, but it was like ice. Now, I was looking at the temperature, and the temperature was indeed dropping. It went from about 34 to about 32, and then 31, then 30 inside of that area, within the first couple of minutes. Now, this is not the first time I've driven in this kind of weather. The other times were going through the desert over in Arizona and in New Mexico, so it was drier there. And going through more humid fog that, like, not really dense fog, but it was fog nonetheless. It is different. I'm watching the roads. I turned off all my music and stuff like that as soon as it started to get, the road conditions started getting kind of crazy. Well, not really. The road conditions were crazy. It's just I saw potential of it getting crazy, so I went ahead and decided to play it safe. So I turned off my music for like the last 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And here's what I'll say is I stopped at a truck stop. And one of the things I did is I looked at the puddles. There were some, how there are puddles of water or something like that, that as you're walking through these truck stops and stuff like that, somebody might have dropped their water bottle or done something goofy. Well, one of the things I did was I would walk over there and kind of rub it with my foot, see if that water was standing, if it was still water, or if it was starting to solidify. It was starting to solidify. That tells me that if the puddles are starting to turn into ice, I need to be aware of that on the road. Another thing that you can look for is on the side of your mirror. There's going to be little streaks, especially if going through fog of rain that goes by. If that starts to freeze up, then you might want to start keeping a very close eye and lower your speed, because it's going to, perhaps, you might start slipping and sliding on the road a little bit, because there is the potential of water on the road freezing. Now, granted, the water on your mirror is going to be moving around from wind and stuff, so it's going to freeze slower than the water will on the ground. So be aware of that. But here's what I will tell you, and this is something I really wish. This is one of my frustrations with trucking. Driving in bad weather, driving in traffic, driving, over ice in general or snow, you have to go slower. That requires additional skill sets, maybe even additional work, and you're driving slower. It would be nice if they paid you more for it. Now, I know you can make the argument of you're paid by the mile regardless. You're paid by the mile. You're getting your pay by the mile. So, Pods isn't, the company's not making any more for it. Well, here's the thing. Charge a little bit of a premium if you know it's going into a bad area, and it might mean a little bit slower transit. Or pad your prices throughout the rest of the year to compensate for slightly slower commutes because things get in the way, either due to bad weather or, which it could be a tornado or hurricane season. It could be, flash floods and stuff like that. But drivers do have to get through this stuff. And it would be great if we got a little bit more if we had to drive in bad conditions. So that's a little thing that I would like to see. I don't know if any companies out there, there's probably companies out there that do pay additional to their drivers. I mean, we're not getting hub miles, which is the miles that where the tires are moving. We're getting paid basically from this location to this location and then this location to this location. It doesn't matter if we get a fuel assignment and it takes us 3 miles off of the main road to get over here. Like earlier today, I had to take a side road in order to, I had to go up off of a different interstate and then cut down on this other road and go down there to get to the fuel stop. And then I had to go back in reverse. Now I understand fuel assignments and that kind of stuff, but it shows up as just, you have a fuel assignment. You should do it. You are required to do it. There is no negotiation on this. That's what they told us. So therefore, it would be nice if they're going to give us a mandatory separate assignment to save the company some money. It'd be great if they would to compensate us for it, even though if it's only a couple of miles or 3 miles or something like that. It would be nice if every time there's a fuel assignment, they just gave us, 3 miles, or they paid an extra $1. That's 2 miles. If they did that every single time, most of the time you exit and you pull off and you go to a truck stop, and the truck stop's within half a mile, and then you turn around and go back. So that would be like getting $1, for doing that 1 mile. But sometimes you have to pull off the road and you have to go down a ways, or you have to go up a different interstate or something like that to get to where it is. It'd be nice if there was a little something like that, just a little extra added thing on there. Whenever we are dropping off and picking up at a location, it adds 1 mile. So we get 50 cents for the fact that we're dropping off and picking up at the same location. So it might be kind of cool to see the same kind of thing happen when we are doing a fuel assignment. But I mean, even after we drop off a load, if we have to go and shut down someplace because we have to do a reset, there might not be a truck stop anywhere nearby. And we still have to get to wherever that truck stop happens to be. If it's 15 minutes away, if it's like in Kearney's Point, which is away from Cinnaminson, I could stop at a truck stop closer to Cinnaminson, but I'm going to end up having to pay out of pocket for 2 days because I have to shut down for 2 days of reserved parking spaces, because they're not going to give you that parking for free anywhere up in the New Jersey / New York area. So I don't want to end up going out of pocket $30+ just to be able to shut down up there. So I drive down to the first opportunity I have to get free parking that is in civilization. So there's a restaurant to eat at or something like that, where I can actually go and have showers and stuff. If you're going to shut down and be out for 34 hours, you don't want to be a pig and just sit there in the truck and pee into, cups and then dump it in the grass and then not have showers and that kind of stuff. You want to be in civilization. So you might drive a little bit of ways. But Schneider does not pay you for that. Most trucking companies probably do not pay you once you're technically not on a job. But if you were doing a reset and they were to give you, for example, an allowance of, let's say, $10 for your off time because they're not giving you an assignment, anytime you are resetting, it would be really cool. It'd be a nice gesture. It would not really put the company out anything to give you maybe $10. That way, if you wanted to drive someplace to shut down and then turn around and go back, because basically they treat it as if you are shutting down there at the location that you drop off at. So, okay, I drop off here. Well, I cannot stay here. No overnight parking allowed at the location. So I need to leave. I need to find a truck stop. It could be 1 or 2 miles down the road. It might be farther. But if I have to shut down, I might have to drive someplace. And then I have to turn around and come back. It'd be nice if the company paid, if nothing else, paid for a little bit of a drive or for a little bit of a shutdown. Maybe give you a $10 allowance because If you wanted to go to a place nearby, $10 would at least participate towards your reserve parking spot, because we cannot get reserve spots and bill it to the company. When I mentioned, I was talking to one of the DTLs, and I mentioned, I will drive a little bit farther away because I don't want to end up having to shut down and pay for parking. I was told, but you can write that off. I'm like, yeah, well, that's great. I'm not making enough money to write off a reserve parking spot every day, because that would be over the course of a week. That would be, let's say it's $15 every time you do it, which is not the case. Usually the places that charge are like 17 to 20. Some places in LA are even 30. But let's call it 15. That's $90 in a 6-day week. I don't end up shelling out $90, which is like a 15th, or probably not even a 15th. Well, it's like a 15th of a paycheck on an average week, where you end up, where you might end up getting 25 or 2,600 miles. I don't end up shelling $90 out for reserve. Now, granted, you don't have to always pay, for reserve parking, but up there you do. I don't want to end up having to pay for that. And the company's making plenty of money. Like I said, give $10. Give us a 10 spot. If we do a week, give us a 10 spot to get home, or get to a place we're going to shut down and then come back. It's a nice gesture. Might be 5 or 10 miles down the road, and then you have to turn around and go back. So if it's 5 miles down the road and then we turn around and come back, I know what you're saying. You're using company gas. That's true. So I guess that's the trade-off. I'm using company gas to get there, wherever I'm going to be shutting down. So that's why they don't pay. But still, there's a lot of different times that we will end up not getting compensated for because, like detours. Or I have actually calculated it some, and I've gone over this in the past. I've calculated it where somehow they measure from this city to this city as a certain amount of miles. I go to Google and I'll look at a route in a car, and it's more than the miles I'm earning. And I can't just nitpick this and say, well, it says 277 miles, but Google is telling me it's 292. I can't sit there and nitpick it. I don't know, and I don't check all the loads, but there's the 2 times I've done it, it's not jived with even the regular directions from Google. And that's not even, truck routes. So I don't know how they generate the miles. I'm sure they have a formula. But it'd be great to get a little extra compensation for something like from a location to maybe the nearest truck stop. They require us to fuel up at Pilots and Flying J's. So what if they looked at it and said, well, here's where you are. It is 7 miles to the nearest Flying J or Pilot. Therefore, we're going to pay you 7 miles round trip, 14. So that's $7. I'd be fine with that too. Like I said, it would at least be mileage paid because we are doing it. But again, company gas, and ultimately it is the company and their policies and what they choose to do and how they choose to do it. If you don't like it, you don't have to work for the company. You can leave. But it'd be nice. It'd be nice. Geez, I've blabbed and gotten off topic and everything else. Sorry. But tomorrow morning, I have about 417 miles, I think exactly, to get from here to Aurora, Colorado, the Pilot that's there. They have 150-ish parking spaces, and I'm really hoping that when I get there, there will be one with my name on it, because from there to the pod's location is 3.5 miles. So I have my ETA set for Monday because today is Saturday and I'm going to be driving on Sunday. Only a part day, only 8 hours or whatever. I'll get there and I will shut down. It'll be a little on the early side, and then I'll do my drop Monday morning at 6 a.m. or whenever they happen to open up the doors. And then I will start driving Interstate 70 and then up that road that goes up to Lehi, Utah. It's about 500 miles. There are truck stops along the way. There are parking spots on the side of the interstate that you can also stop at. But I am not going to want to drive past about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Why? because I don't have to fight for parking spots if I can do that. And I can still shut down, get up early, finish my drive, and there's no traffic. And provided the weather works with me, which is only supposed to get down to a low of about 38, which shouldn't mean the road's going to freeze up. Now, once I get to Aurora and shut down tomorrow, I'm going to be looking at the weather, going to be looking to see what it looks like the weather report's going to be indicating, because if I have to, I will shut down at a truck stop, and I will get up in the morning and finish my drive out to Lehi, Utah, and then shut down mid to late morning. Or not shut down, but at least I'll get there. Because I would rather not have to worry about chaining up. And if it snows and it shuts down the interstate or something like that in the middle of the night, I don't want to end up sitting there with a 14-hour clock ticking away and not be able to make my delivery. So before I go to bed tomorrow night, I will look at the weather, see what it's supposed to be, what it's going to be projected at, and I'll see if I can find any information on the Utah DOT website on anything that's expected to shut down or something like that. If not, I'll go ahead and get up and go. But I'm hoping to get to maybe within 100, maybe 150 miles at most away from Aurora or from Lehi. So that way that if I got up early in the morning and had to drive extra slow, I could still make it there in 4 hours, 5 hours, something like that, if I were driving at 30 or 40 miles an hour. It doesn't look like from the Google Earth driving pictures that I've looked at, and I've gone in and scanned this, because you go down 70 and then it has this road called, what is it? The Highway of the Americas, Highway of some, I forgot what it's called. It's some, nice little name, but, whatever this name is, it's like 160 and some odd miles. And it looks like it's a 2-lane. And it just drives and wiggles through the foothills. It looks like it goes between the mountains. It doesn't look bad. It looks pretty flat from the random pictures I looked at. We will see though, won't we? Time will tell. Before I go, I have to share one more thing. And I'm going to leave it here. I am very happy because it is, as of the time of this video, it's December 2nd. I'm going to be on the road. My partner wanted to make sure that I was going to have something to help me celebrate. So she got me this. This is a Charlie Brown tree. This is the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And so it just sits out there and kind of looks out at everything. The truck stop. You can see how hazy it is out there because it's going to be really great driving conditions in the morning. But you can see the Linus blanket there. You can see the battery pack there that I just got through turning it on actually as the sun was setting. And that's the Charlie Brown tree. So there you have it. Kind of fun. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.